In today's video, we'll be having a look at atoms. In particular, trying to explain what they actually are. Now, starting off, you may have heard the term particles before. Now, these particles are actually atoms, and everything around us is made up of them. Before we start, here's some useful definitions. An element is something that's made up of only one type of atom, whereas a compound is something that is made up of two or more types of atoms, chemically bonded together. Now, both of these are GCSE definitions, which can be asked in the GCSE test paper. Right, so going off the idea that everything's made up of particles, that includes you yourself, the food you eat, and most likely the phone you're using to watch this video on. So let's go with that. So here's the particles of our phone. Let's have a closer look at one of those particles, shall we? And here we go. Here's a general structure of an atom. Now, as part of your GCSE exams, you are required to either state or label a structure of an atom and each individual bit. So let's do that. Now, starting off at the centermost part, there are two types of subatomic particles. Starting off, the first one is the one with that positive charge. It's a proton. They're pros, so they're positive. And then the other subatomic particle is going to be called our neutron. These subatomic particles are neutral. And both of these subatomic particles are found in that center part, which we call the nucleus. Now, that is a very common word, which you might have come across in biology also. It just means the center, so something you find in the middle. Now, the third and final subatomic particle that makes up an atom is the outside one here, which circles the nucleus, and these are called your electrons. These are found on the electron shells and have an opposite charge to your protons, therefore are negative. Now, an alternative way they may ask you to describe the structure of an atom is by completing a table. So here's an example. Now, starting off, we have our subatomic particles. These are subatomic, so smaller than an atom. And we've already gone through these. So you have your protons, neutrons, and electrons. Next, they may ask you where they're found. Well, starting off, we start from the center. We have our protons and neutrons, which are found in the nucleus, and electrons, which are orbiting the nucleus, found on the electron shells. Now, the charge, we have to be a bit more specific here. Our protons are positive, but they are specifically +1. Our neutrons are neutral, therefore 0. And the electrons are the opposite of protons, and therefore have a -1 charge. Now, the next and final part is mass. Now, this is the relative mass, so how big they are in comparison to one another. Our protons and neutrons have a relative mass of 1, so they're roughly the same size, and the electron is the smallest part within the atom. This is 1/1836. Now, that can be a difficult number to remember. Luckily, you're allowed to write 1/2000. You can use whichever of the two you find easiest to remember. To summarize, particles are known as atoms, and all of the atoms of elements we've ever discovered are found on your periodic table, and we'll have a closer look at this on a future video. Lastly, atoms have an overall neutral charge, and the reason for that is they always have the same number of protons, positive charges, as they do electrons, negative charges, so they balance each other out. That's it for this video, and as always, if you have any questions, just leave them below and I'll do my best to get back to you.